Now, can you imagine in any three of these scenarios, had the survivors been young black men and they were with a young white man and he ended up dead, what kind of investigation would that have been?
Welcome. Whole World Protect Thyself YouTube page, where we face tough situations head on. Find the best decision. This cold world, self-protection is key. In this cold world, wisdom is armor. So in this cold world, we must always protect thyself.
Good morning. My name is Trevon Williams, Senior Vice President of Marketing Communications with the NAACP. We are here because a demand was made, a demand for transparency, a demand for answers, and a demand for ultimate justice on behalf of Nola Wells. And that demand must be honored. Momentarily, you will hear from renowned civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump, who will provide updates on the findings of the independent autopsy that was conducted in the death of Nola Wells. But before he comes, we will have the leader of the NAACP, President Derek Johnson, to give opening remarks.
Good morning. Far too often our young people are confronted with challenges. We cannot allow another individual, particularly a young black man's death, go uninvestigated. We have seen this happen over the years, not only in Mississippi, but across the country. For the NAACP, we take this and many other cases serious because every person matters. And so for the NAACP family, this is our role, is to step in, to support when the families have an issue like this and the local officials seem not to hold people accountable. It's unfortunate when you see news reports and law enforcement officials are repeating what individuals are saying as opposed to investigate the individuals who gave you the information, because you don't know who was involved or not involved. And so narrative matters in this case. And we're saying that in Nola Wells' situation, the narrative should not be it was an accident before there was an investigation. We're not accusing anyone of anything other than the state of Mississippi and local officials. We're accusing them of being derelict in their duties to follow up and to ensure that regardless of what happened, that there was the proper investigation so that this family and that community could be assured that if anyone was involved, they would be held accountable. And if it was truly an accident, that the families will have the necessary answers that any family deserved in this situation. I want to bring to the podium Attorney Benjamin Crump, a friend of mine who have stepped in to take the case and in support of the family to ensure that they get the answers that they deserve. Attorney Crump.
Thank you very much, President Derek Johnson, for your leadership, for the leadership of the Mississippi Conference of NAACP, and being there during the homegoing services to help the family go through what no parents want to go through. As President Johnson said, I'm Attorney Ben Crump representing the family of Nola Wells, but it's not just me, it is a team effort of incredible, dedicated lawyers and investigators and paralegals. Attorney Lisa Park, attorney who you'll hear from in a few minutes. But before we begin to discuss the intricacies of the preliminary findings of the independent autopsy, we think it would be appropriate for you all to hear from the people who knew Nola Wells best, so they can thank you themselves and tell you about the trials and tribulations that they have been enduring since July 4th. I bring to the podium Nola Wells' mother and father, Christine and Elmore.
First of all, I want to say thank you all so much. Thank you to President Johnson as well as Chairman Russell. Losing a child, it truly breaks your heart. you can't measure it, especially someone like Nolan who brought so much joy and light and life to everyone. So to lose that light at such a young age under these circumstances has been absolutely difficult, which is why we've gone this route. There's so many people out in the public asking all of these questions, but the only question that we have is what happened to our son. We have consistently been degraded by the public. I've been called a racist. I am a healthcare provider, and I take my job very seriously. I love everyone. And it's been difficult for us, but we are leaning into our faith, leaning into one another, also leaning into all of you. We love you from the bottom of our heart. And so it is our hope that our local authorities will do what they need to do, because us having the preliminary autopsy results and hearing nothing from it's heartbreaking and it's concerning, which again is why we are here, why we have asked for this help.
Every day I wake up, it's a new challenge. Knowing that a part of me I will never talk to. Nolan brought a lot of joy to our family. He was the wittiest one out of everyone. He loved to put in the work because he wanted to be the best. Being the person that he was loving. All his teachers knew him, but loved him. He walks in the room, his aura, you're automatically drawn to it. It's gonna be hard, and I will give my honest, because I always tell them, if anyone is gonna be totally honest with you, it's gonna be me. People outside of your family are gonna tell you what you wanna hear. I'm gonna tell you what you need to know to make you better. We're gonna miss our son, and like my wife said, we just want honesty. The things that you're telling us, that's not the character of our son. We know our son, and we're gonna keep pushing and fighting until we find answers. Thank you guys for your love and support.
Thank you so much, Christine and Nolan. We will hear from Attorney Lisa Park to tell you about who was the forensic pathologist who conducted the autopsy.
Dr. Roger Mitchell could not join us today, but we felt it important before we reveal and unfold this report that you understand who conducted this autopsy. Dr. Roger Mitchell is a physician and board-certified forensic pathologist with 2 decades of experience. He currently serves as the president of the National Medical Association, which is the oldest and largest group of Black physicians in the U.S. Most recently, he also served as president of Howard University Hospital, chief medical officer of the Howard University Faculty Practice Plan, and chair of the Department of Pathology. Before joining Howard, he served as chief medical examiner for Washington, D.C. from 2014 to 2021, and later as interim deputy mayor for the Public Safety and Justice. Dr. Mitchell has conducted and managed thousands of autopsies and is nationally recognized for his work at the intersection of medicine, public health, and justice. And for this case, we sought out the very best, and we are proud to be working with the very best.
Civil rights is more important than ever in the United States of America today. And so we thank you for the civil rights leaders stepping up to say that our children's lives matter now more than ever. And I want to thank the media for covering this matter because they don't always cover when our children are taken away from us in a highly unquestionable way. I'm very happy that the media said this story is just as important. We'll all agree that our children's lives are far more important than where LeBron or any other player will play next year. And so that's why I thank you all for being here, because this news is as important as any news in the United States of America, finding out why is Nola Wells dead. I want to thank Reverend Al Sharpton. I want to thank Mr. Tyler Perry. I want to thank Mr. Terry Owens for putting up the $125,000 reward for anybody out there who have information. The fact, Christine, that the United Cajun Navy are so forthcoming. The fact that they told us, we haven't heard from any of their local officials, that Nolan was found face down, fully clothed. Well, that's significant to us because the last time we saw him on the videos, he was without a shirt. So at what point did he put on a shirt? Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something. There were almost 300, 400 people. So, Scott X, we're trying to just make sure people understand that you can call the Nola Wells tip line. We will gladly listen to you, take any information as we try to put together this puzzle of what happened to Nola Wells. And today, we're gonna add some more parts to this puzzle. My legal team and I, we stand for truth, no matter who it implicates or who it exonerates. We stand for justice, and we stand for transparency. And we don't need government officials having to narrate it for you and me. That leads to the truth. The truth is the foundation for accountability and justice. We want to especially thank Mr. Colin Kaepernick for not thinking it robbery to pay for the autopsy. So, Dr. Roger Mitchell, board certified forensic pathologist, performed a preliminary report on the death of Nola Xavier Wells. He conducted and presented this report on July 19th, 2026. Preliminary report, second autopsy, death of Nola Xavier Wells. Cause of death, undetermined, pending investigation. The manner of death, undetermined, pending investigation. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. He said the etiology is unknown at this time. And that when you have an autopsy, the organs are removed from the body and they are dissected and examined. And then they are put back in a bag within inside the body. But in this occasion, if there's going to be a second autopsy, then the organs are put in the body cavity. Very significant, Mitchell, was that the anterior inner neck structures were absent, not received with the body. And we'll explain that. This forensic pathologist identified several limitations during the second autopsy that create barriers to establishing a definitive cause and manner of death for Nola Xavier Wells. And that's important. He talks about the fact that we didn't get to see the body when it was first recovered, like the medical examiner working for Mississippi would have seen. He talked about the second autopsy performed on Nola Wells revealed marked decompensation or changes. Marked decompensation can obscure the presence and absence of bruising on the skin surface, especially during a second autopsy examination. What he's saying, because the body was so decomposed that you couldn't tell if there was bruises or abrasions on the body when he received it on the 10th of July. Dissection procedures not performed during the first autopsy examination were performed to rule out potential blunt force injuries responsible for the death. Dissection of the subcutaneous and deep soft tissue, dissection of the back, the buttocks, the arms, and legs. He did all of this to rule out things. He ruled out there were no fractures or deep tissue injuries identified. This was very important because he wanted to be very thorough and very transparent, because transparency is the key to getting to the answers of why Nola Wells is not with. He says, however, dissection of the back of the head during the layered posterior neck dissection revealed a 12 by 8 inch focal area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissues overlaying the occipital bone. When he cut open into the back of his head towards the occipital bone, and he saw the red discoloration, and we actually saw the pictures of it. It's significant. Why is this dark red here in the back of his head? He said that etiology of this finding is unclear. There are no lacerations of the overlaying skin nor fractures of the underlying skull. These findings are inconclusive for perimortem injury due to both the extensive decomposition and the absence of associated injuries. However, it's significant enough to be highlighted in this preliminary report for further investigation. He said another limitation faced by this forensic pathologist was the absence of the anterior internal neck structures. The thyroid horn and the hyoid bone were not received with the body. So he's saying that the throat was not received with the body when he got Nola Wells' body in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. He said the retention of the anterior neck structures during an initial autopsy is a common forensic pathology practice. He was chief medical examiner for 7 years in Washington, D.C., and he said that if they had concern about throat or any fracture or compression of the throat, they too will hold them back. He doesn't know why they held the throat back, but he said the throat was not with the body of Nola Wells when he received it in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. He said, nevertheless, a posterior neck dissection performed without review of the anterior neck structures is incomplete. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death. He said he would need to have the medical examiner in Mississippi allow him to review the throat. That's why he said his autopsy is undetermined pending investigation. Because the initial autopsy rightfully removed and dissected each organ, there are additional limitations inherent in the second autopsy of Nola Wells. The most significant of the limitations was the inability to directly observe the airway and the lungs for water and directly observe the stomach for gastric content. We have heard from our call center people saying the body wasn't waterlogged. Well, we need to know those things. So therefore, again, the manner and cause of death is undetermined until further investigation. We are hopeful that the Mississippi medical examiner would give Dr. Mitchell an opportunity to see their photographs and their observations to the condition of Nola Well's body closer in time to July 4th. And we have to continue to demand transparency, President Johnson. Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water with suspicion of drowning, it is important to confirm how that person entered the water. This is the crux of the matter. This information is especially important for those deaths of persons who can swim. So he said the condition of Nola Wells before he entered the water would be the crux of the matter. It would be of utmost importance to being able to determine a cause and manner of death. He said definitive circumstances of death are required to determine the manner of death. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nola Wells. He's saying based on the examination of the body, he cannot rule out foul play. That is significant. With the following questions still outstanding, number one, what were the circumstances that led to Nola Xavier Wells entering the water? Number two, what was the body position when it was found? We know that a member of the United Cajun Navy said that he was face down and he was fully clothed. Number three, was there water in the airway? Number four, is there any evidence of injuries to the anterior neck structure? Number five, is there any evidence of any intracranial hemorrhaging? Number six, what was the composition of the stomach contents? How long had it been since his last meal? He said the best classification again for the cause and manner of death for Nola Xavier Wells is undetermined pending investigation. This forensic pathologist reserves the right to review and incorporate additional forensic pathology information into his opinion as it becomes available. Dr. Roger A. Mitchell, July 19, 2026. And we know that, as I said, this is only another part of the puzzle. And even though it tells us significant information, we still have more questions than we have answers at this time. And just like the NAACP stood up when another tragedy in Mississippi taking the life of young Emmett Till, we will stand up for Nola Wells. When another Mississippi son was taken in Medgar Evers, we will stand up for Nola Wells. Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Botham Jean, Terrence Crutcher, Stephon Clark, Sandra Bland, Atiana Jefferson, Alton Sterling. Gary, we stand up until we get the truth, until we get justice. Justice for Nola Wells. This is so important that we continue to talk about Nola Wells. And I want to take a moment before we answer your questions to talk about two other young black men, both 18 years old, who were killed in extraordinary ways that are very similar to Nola. Went on a fishing trip, out on a fishing boat with two other young men He was the only black. It is alleged that he ended up accidentally drowning, but his two white friends got his cell phone and threw it away, got his clothes and threw it away, and then went and deleted all of their text messages with him and social media. Sounds familiar? And they've only been charged with tampering with evidence. And his mother is crying out that they should be charged with murder, because if they would lie about his cell phone and his clothes and deleted messages, then they will lie about what really happened to Daniel Irvins. Tyler Smith, on 4th of July, was at a house party with about 10 other people. He was the only black person at the house. He somehow ends up shot in the head. They tell the police it was an accident. It was an accidental shooting, that they were playing Russian roulette and Tyler Smith ended up getting killed. And apparently, Christine Clark, President Johnson, the police just took their word for it. His mother and grandmother are incensed, Nola Well's family, because the police told them, President Johnson, that there was no need to do gunshot residue on his hands or any of the other people in the house, because I don't understand this logic, but they said if it makes no sense whatsoever. So they are taking the word of these 10 people that your son just killed himself for it. Now, can you imagine in any 3 of these scenarios, had the survivors been young black men and they were with a young white man and he ended up dead, would they have ever been able to see the light of day until those questions were answered? Well, just like you would do a thorough investigation for your children, we want you to do a thorough investigation for our children. We just want equal justice. Equal justice.
Hi, everybody. Samantha Chapman, ABC7 Chicago. You just unveiled a comprehensive outline of the independent report. So in summary, can you tell us what we can take away from this report? And also, if you can provide more details about the next.
Dr. Roger Mitchell said that a red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region, is significant. That's significant. As it's common practice, he was missing his throat when they received the body. And he wants to know why they held it back. He's not drawing any conclusions, but he said he would want to examine it if there were neck fractures or compressions to the neck. And he thinks that's significant to know at autopsy. The last thing that is significant is what we said before about him, the condition of his body when he went into the water. Was he conscious or unconscious? Was he forced or unforced into the water? He said those things are very significant. But he started off talking about this red discoloration in the back of his head is something that was of great concern to him. When Nolan's parents heard the sheriff say there's no foul play at the beginning of the investigation, that is cause for concern, major concern. You haven't even investigated, but you're saying no foul play. And so we want them to dot every I and cross every T. You know, we had a meeting with the district attorney and we expressed to them about our lived experiences. The fact, and you know, they said that's not what happens in her office, but we said we believe if the roles were reversed, We don't believe that those young black men would not have been interrogated to the full extent of the law. No, they would have been held until they gave answers. They would have been held until they explained the cell phone in their possession. They would have been held until their cell phones have been examined. And so whatever you would do, had the roles been reversed, we want you to do the same thing for Nola Well.
I know that we're talking about a transparent investigation, but for families and people who are watching, can you kind of give a breakdown or a timeline to the best of your ability, the contact that you've had with Mississippi authorities or Ocean Springs authorities or the Cajun Navy?
The last time we actually spoke with local authorities, which would be the Sheriff's Department, was I think a day or two after his body was found. And the sheriff came out and said, this is, accidental drowning. We don't think there's foul play. Because I sat there and asked them, please take this case as if this is your child,
yes,
your family member, your whatever. However, damage has already been done, because now that's the narrative that's being pushed by the general public, who again know nothing really, only what they're hearing from other people. And at the end of the day, like I said before, any parent that would be in this situation, you would do anything to find out what happened to your child.
This narrative, this suggestion that it was an accidental drowning, nothing to see here, is troubling. Even if that's the case, there were 300 to 400 people out on Horns Island. You mean to tell me nobody saw anything? It just doesn't add up. The fact that they're saying Nolan said that he would stay behind, but yet an 18-year-old kid would not want his cell phone if he was going to stay behind. The fact that, you have the young lady saying that he said he was going to get back on the boat with the boys, and then the boys saying no, he said he was going to stay behind and talk to her. If that was the case, don't you believe Nolan would have said, give me my cell phone? It's not adding up. And so we're going to keep fighting and digging until we get the answers, the transparency, the truth, the accountability, and justice for Nola Well. Justice for Nola Well.
I think that he just says the most obvious. He says the things that will get him elected. So I don't think against certain